good dough down with one hand behind my back. I can crush a grizzly till its bones begin to crack. I eat a dozen T-bones for my early morning snack. So imagine what I could do to you. I can tear a telephone.
Closer, and welcome to Tales Wales, the pod that never fails to DDT some facts into you, to put your brain into a suplex, to cliche-esque stink-face you with some tidbits from the Trish stratosphere of Celtic pride, and to smash the metal chair that is Welsh history right into your cranium, and that's the bottom line, because Tales Wales said so.
Excellent. I can see why you're excited about that one now.
Yeah. Well, I just like always, I wrote this 30 seconds before we started, but I had in my idea because it's about wrestling. I wanted to say Trish status. I thought stratosphere, and then the gold fell just from there.
They just, I was just saying, they kept rolling out of you after that, didn't they?
I kind of think of 90s wrestlers, so like Trish Stratus. Is that a name, Trish Stratus?
Is it Status or Stratus? I think it's Status, isn't it? Trish Status or Stratus? I don't know. I know
Trish
you mean.
Stratus, yeah. And I'm trying to think of other ones. So I had Rikishi, he was a big player. He was my favourite.
Classic.
I loved him as Scotty Too Hotty.
Scotty Too Hotty.
Oh, also, when this is in the background, when we edit, we should have the like the Stone Cold music.
Oh yeah, the one. Yeah, the break-in.
Yeah, we should just have that coming throughout the episode. Whenever you tell a new fact, we just go pow. They drop one in.
Yeah, just have all the classics just going, I'm a real American, like in the back of everything.
What was some of the best?
Rights of every man.
I know this will resonate well with a lot of our listeners as well, because our listeners are just us. They're just the same things we love: Welsh history, alcohol, 90s, early 2000 references.
Oh, some of the classics. I mean, Shawn Michaels. I'm just a sexy boy, sexy boy.
I also like the Road Dog. That was a good one.
That's a good one. What's a bit more like off kilter wrestlers? Remember, like who's the one who did he had like a snake sock puppet? On his hand
Mankind.
as like the I know it was Mankind had the sock because he was the Rock Sock combo when he was tag teaming with The Rock, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But there was a guy, and I don't think he was they never took him really seriously. But you see on Instagram, it comes up and it goes, if wrestling's fake, then then explain this. And there's someone doing a little flute, and the guy who's got the snake sock on his hand is being controlled. it's so stupid.
Well, to me, those ones are all a bit too older before it. It's Santino Marella, the Cobra Charmer. Oh, he's actually not that
Santino
old.
Marella, yeah.
Yeah, he's relatively modern, and he looks ridiculous.
And he was never taken. His thing is basically the Mankind with the sock.
Yeah.
He used to do that, but with this snake sock. But when I can't remember who it was against. I'm assuming it's going to be someone who's almost racistly Asian coded or something, and they made him have a flute.
Those snakes do love being charmed. Some of my top ones is very early tangent for us. William Regal, I loved him because he was always being bullied for being English and being a bit of a dweeb.
William Regal, yeah. We see. What did he used to do? It was
one time he had
is it when he had he had a show, didn't he, with WWE? He had an opinion-based show, and
he looks old. He looks haggard. Well, he has a thing where he was disgusted at American etiquette, so he did. In the skits they'd do, he'd come down and he'd laid a table and he put all the knives and forks and everything, and he was showing you how to lay a table. Then someone came and DDT'd him through the table, and he was oh good God, no!
I got so confused. Sorry, I do remember this guy. I was on about Wade Barrett.
Oh yeah, no, quite.
He said, "I've got something to say."
Oh yeah, I've got
bad
news, Barrett.
Yeah, I've got some bad news for you.
Yeah, there's because they had a few British people, haven't they? They've had the really pasty Hamish McDougall or whatever that Scottish guy was called, who was so translucent.
Seamus.
Seamus,
he was Irish guy, I suppose.
Yeah,
but he
Irish,
was so
he?
white.
Yeah.
They just called him the Great White, didn't they? Which is a fucking great name.
Can I give you some of William Regal's names? So William Regal, Stephen William Regal, Stephen Regal, Steve Regal.
So then, just move it around a little bit and just see what works. Yeah.
Then it goes Sir William Regal. Then it goes Roy Regal. And then Lord Stephen Regal, King Regal. Can I give you the last two?
Yeah, go for
it. So Lord Regal, King Regal, Hellraiser, and then Darren Matthews. And that's just
Darren Matthews. The way you did that, I'm assuming you're doing it like reverse chronological. I'd much prefer it if they did all the Regals right. Then just call me Darren, all right? Go back to Daz. Daz and Matthews. What I was going to say then, I love that Sir William Regal, Knight of the Realm himself.
This started off a real time. Me and Jack haven't done a pod together in a while, like a proper sit-down pod.
Yeah.
And we're back now. I kind of got past my manic episode and period of work, and things have just calmed down a lot. So we're back to regular broadcasting now, aren't we?
Yeah, that's the thing, because we've had to squeeze them in whenever we can. And you're doing lots of lunchtime ones.
Yeah, fitting them. And
it's not the rhythm we used to, is it? We prefer a much more consistent.
Got a bit more. We can be lingdy long with it, a bit more lackadaisical, chill with it, and being able to have a couple of pints and enjoy it either side, rather than all right, we're going to do the notes, get it all done, get it all out. So thanks for staying with us. I mean, you probably didn't notice anything different, but we thanks. I'll thank you for putting up with me during that period.
You make it sound like the last few episodes, people are like, have you noticed? Are you aware of what's going on with the Sales Wales boys? You can tell they're stressed.
Yeah. We had a massive weekend on the booze on weekend just gone, and it's only Tuesday for us now. And I was like, I'm not going to have any. But I was so giddy to be doing the pod that I've saved up all my calories to have tonight. So I'm on the rum and Diet Cokes, but I'm on lovely pint sizes. And my God, it's delicious. I feel in such good spirits.
That's always the way to go, isn't it? I'm going to switch to the rums in a bit, I think, because these Carlins, it's lovely, but I think I've drunk a bit too quick, when you get a little bit too bleh.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
A bit fucking...
Yeah.
Bit
Bloat
gassy.
Central. How many you had?
Well, what did you do on that? I've only on my fourth, I think, so I haven't had loads. But what I was going to say, what did you get up to on the weekend? I think you told me via text, but what about the listeners? They want to know.
So it was my work summer party, and so I went up to Battersea where I work, and they were doing a summer sports day, and I was I'm not getting involved in that. So I went up and I got 4 really close friends in work, and we went to, there's a cafe on the corner where we work called the Corner Cafe, and they now know our order, and it's fucking sick when you go in and they'll be like, oh, the usual.
That's always a nice feeling.
And they're proper it feels really nice and cool. It's a nice little community thing that
I went to my my work summer party. I did sack it off what the main thing was. I just said, when are the beers afterwards?
Exactly.
I'll join you for them.
They were doing rounders and sports day stuff, and I was like, I ain't doing that.
Man,
we made an excuse that we had to work, and we couldn't join it, because it was meant to go at 2, but we just stayed back a bit, had the beers in
I'm just so under the cosh, boss. I really can't do it. I know your workload. Yeah, I can't, mate. Right,
you don't have a clue, mate. Oh, these tweets.
You turned up half cut. Yeah, you turned up half cut. Yeah. It wasn't really working, mate. Yeah,
we turned up because they had to walk to the pub. They didn't take much booze, so me and my mate Lou went to go get more booze, and we just drank from midday, or we started maybe 2 o'clock until forever, but we didn't have any food. Stuff, I had my lunch, and that was it. Yeah. And we
so easy to do, isn't it?
And we were all so giddy and so excited. It was really fun seeing everyone, and we were they had some money behind the bar and stuff, and we just getting properly on it. And then we finished about 2, and then came back to Luke, my mate's flat, and we watched Fight Night, and we drank until about 4. But then the next day we were meant to go on this proper food and drinks trip around London to Borough Market and all these great food places. And Lou,
it's always the same, best laid plans, isn't it?
But he is such a sweet, nice person, and he was so up for it, so excited. All week he was sending me links where we're going to go, and I was just really buzzing for it. And he was so violently sick on the Saturday morning, constantly being sick. He came, and he's quite a big guy, so he sat on the sofa, and he's there, he's taller than me. He's he just looks like a rugby player. If you just say, "Oh, what does a rugby guy look like?" You just say, "That's Lou." So he can handle his booze well. He's easy at 10 to 15 pinter. He's a good pubsman. But he was just there, and I've never seen him look so weak. He was just going between. He had, the chair in Friends where you can lower, the lazy boy chair.
Yeah,
he was just switching between lazy boy to sitting up to lazy boy, then go to be sick. I ordered breakfast, had breakfast, offered him some. He was like, "Oh, I can't." And it got to about an hour or 2 hours while he'd been awake, and he was just been constantly sick. And I was like, and I knew he wasn't going to be able to do a food day. And he was like, he kind of came in. He was like,
"Why is that
sorry.
like such a universal thing, isn't it? Like everyone does that. Like, we've been guilty of it as well. Where we go, you go, oh, what we'll
Massive
do
plans.
is we'll drink our weight in pints on the Saturday. We'll just get up. We'll just get up nice and early on Sunday, and we'll just eat loads. We'll gorge ourselves. We're probably not going to feel sick at all. And then it's like, as if we don't know how it goes every single time.
Our last drink was like a massive. It was such a big glass of Malibu. That was like the last.
Malibu, it's fucking shampoo. That stuff. That's great.
Yeah. So, so he was thrown up. It sounded like he was giving birth, and then so I me Sterner stuff. I went and I caught the train in. He lives in Croydon, so it's a bit of a mission into the centre. But I got into the centre. Like Borough Market on a Saturday was like I get anxiety the best of time in busy places.
Oh God, yeah, the people. I can just imagine.
It was so hot. I bought me and Emma these donuts, these creme brulee donuts from there. Lovely stuff. By the time I got across town, they'd melted because it was so hot. It was just like it was like coming at the bottom of the box, and I was just like, "Oh well, fuck this."
That's what you told Emma anyway, wasn't it? They just gone. I can't do anything. You're thinking I've had to eat them. Sorry.
No, I still brought them back, but they were just soggy little sods. But yeah, it was massive. It was a proper, like a really, really big sesh, like an old school big all-dayer. What about you?
Love them. Yeah, so I went down to Newport. Actually Friday I went to go see Paul Smith with Amy.
Newport. He's like I only ever see him as a TikTok or like a Instagram.
Same. So Amy has seen him a few times on she shows me like these clips and stuff. I hadn't really seen much of his stuff.
He's like the highest earning comedian in the last 2 years, I think.
Is he? Fucking hell. Well, I know he's gone like leaps and bounds since, because Amy first saw him when she went on a hen do. I think it was like 2 years ago, and he was just a compere at like a small time comedy club, and now he's like selling out, Motorpoint or whatever. I had another issue. Remember the last time I was at the Motorpoint? I had an issue with those people coming up to me and they were like, "Oh, you're in our seats."
Yeah.
I swear they only let thick people into the Motorpoint, and that's me saying that I was there as well. But it was so annoying, right? I went there and we got our pints and everything. That's a different story. I'll circle back to that, right? But
they're too expensive. Is that what it's going to be?
Oh yes, shock horror it is. But no, there's too expensive and there's this. Guess how much it was a pint?
£7.
£8.60.
That is
a pint.
That is disgraceful.
That's beyond, isn't it? That's
beyond.
like sickening.
Yeah.
If they weren't already in
the too much a pint.
Yeah, £7 is disgusting.
Yeah.
But £8.60, that's I think you're going into taking the piss realm there. That's like you're mocking me in my place of worship, a bar. So
sacrilege.
Yeah, it's against my religion to do this. But anyway, so if the two 2-pinters were in front of me, because we didn't want to go back to the bar afterwards. If they weren't already in front of me, I would have gone, no, I'm not paying for these. But I was like, I do want a drink, and I will. I can't turn down this bounty. Anyway, we went up to our row, and we were like, it's definitely this row. And we looked, and every single seat was full. And we were like, well, some fucking chump has got it wrong, haven't they? So... And guess what? It was the ones right in front of us. I said, "Oh, mate, I think you're in our seats." He went, "No, we're not." And he was howling, like he wasn't even going to remember the show.
Yeah.
And
I think that's kind of a bit of a cliche of Paul Smith's audience, the proper boozers, scally, a tiny bit scally.
I think that's what it is that I was saying to him, I quite liked that he's a bit scally, very working class kind of thing like that. But unfortunately, you could look out over the droves of his crowd, and you were like, they've gone too far on the booze today. They've gone on all day because they know they're going to see him tonight.
Well, he got just to jump in, he's got so big because he started recording his crowd work about 6-7 years ago with Hot Water Comedy, who are the best, they are the best live comedy in Britain. They're based up in Liverpool, and they used to film his stuff, and he used to put it on socials, and he was doing that way before anybody else. So then he managed to make his own massive audience. Shot up, man, and he is funny, but his audience, his fans can be a bit rowdy, a lot of coke, quite.
The amount of shouting from the crowd. You know when there's half the time it's not even fucking coherent. You know what I mean? Like they're just drunk, going, and it was a bit like that. But yeah, so I said to this guy, "Oh, yeah, you're in our seats, mate." And he was just like, "No, we're 12 and 11." I said, "Yeah, what row?" And he went, "Oh, M, as in M for mother." And I was like, "Yeah. Oh, this is N, mate. N for November.
N for not your fucking seat.
N for not your fucking seat, yeah." And he went, "Right, well then these two people in front of us are in our bloody seats." And then they turned around and went, "No, we're definitely in the right seats." "Well, no, because I'm meant to be blah, blah, blah," all this. And he said, "What block are you in?" And he went, 4. "What block's this?" And we were like, 7, like the other side of the fucking stadium. Like the 4 was like the other side. It's not even close. And he went, "Oh, bloody hell. Oh, sorry, mate." And he got up and he was going, "Oh, sorry, mate. You know it's like you have a bit too much, don't you, before you bloody turn up? You don't have a clue."
Oh, was he quite nice?
And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I feel bad now. But also not bad enough to let you sit in my seat, but still.
Yeah.
And then I sat down and it turns out that actually wasn't our seat. The two people next to us...
Thick audience.
Yeah, thick audience. The two people next to us were like, "Oh, those are actually our seats, but they were there when we got here. They were there when we got here, and these two were free, so we just sat in these, sorry." And I was like, "Oh, so you're the coward that's caused this chain of events." And then I said, "Oh, would you want to swap? Or are you all right?" And he said, "No, you're in ours, we're in yours, that's fine." But then he wouldn't stop talking to me. He kept leaning over during the gig going, "Oh, I picked that outside seat because it's got a bit of a dodgy knee I have." And I kept saying, "Would you want to switch?" No, it's all right." So I just kept thinking, stop fucking going on about it then. Stop bringing it up all the time.
You can have another dodgy knee in a minute. Maybe
I know, you can have a dodgy head in a minute as well. Yeah, so another fucking fiasco. And I wasn't in the best mood after the bloody £8.70 pints, whatever it was as well.
£8.70 pints.
£8.70, if you believe such a thing.
£8.70
anyway,
pints on you.
So I had a few there. It was good night, good times. Yeah. And then the next day, I went and did a super nerdy thing.
This is insane. I can't
Pokemon
believe.
games. Yeah. So I got for the audience, anyone versed in the Poke world, right? I had I just cleared out my
the pods over.
I know, yeah. I just cleared out a bit of my granddad's house, and he had a sealed Pokemon Gold and Silver that he bought for me and my brother back in the day. So we had a game that we actually played that we could open and everything, and then he got these other sealed ones when we went to America, and they sold for what was it, 750 quid for the two of them. I can believe it. So much money.
So why did he buy you two lots of the exact same thing? One for you and him. I don't get why you.
So he got me Gold and my brother Silver to actually open and play on our Game Boys because we really wanted it, and you could see how popular it was at the time because we went to the shopping thing.
Clever.
Well, so he could see how popular it was because there was kids queuing for it, to get it. And so he went, "Oh, this will probably be worth a few bob in, a few years' time."
That's
so he bought another. Yeah, the great foresight. But he was also, my granddad was a bit of a hoarder. He's got tons of shit in his attic and stuff that he's probably gone. For every one that he's got right, he's probably got 9 duds that never are worth anything. Though. But no, it was good. I mean, it's handy.
Do you ever
for
think,
me.
I want to do that? I want to buy something to get I think, no one's going to buy anything collectible anymore. I just want to be quick rich.
I think that's the thing with me. I want to be quick. I don't want to go, in 10 years I'll be rich. That's no good to me. I don't care.
Yeah.
And also, I wouldn't have the foresight to do it because anything I pick now would be worth fuck all in 10 years, I reckon, because I just haven't got the I've got the eye for it.
Yeah, Carlin, cans of Carlin.
Cans of Carlin. Were those? Oh wait, I've drunk them.
Yeah, gone, absolutely gonzo. We always do this when we haven't caught up in a while. We ramble for 20 minutes before the actual thing. How long's your acting?
Always the same.
How long's your notes?
It's a quite 5 pages. How long's that? What's that in time?
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Do you reckon we should start? Do you want to start? Oh, no,
I say on that note, we should probably get on with it, should we?
Well, we really should start going back to Patreon shout-outs.
We should. So this week's one. This week we want to shout out one of our Patreon members, one of our Taily, actually, so technically a producer. And this is Jana Banana or Jana Banana. I'm not sure which way to say it.
Love it. Jana Banana.
It. Mrs. Banana. She's Miss Banana. I don't know.
Miss.
Miss. But yeah, she's one of our lovely Patreon members. She's got a hell of a cool backstory as well. I'm going to be paraphrasing now because I've got the message back up. But for those who don't know, if you're on a Patreon, especially with the higher tier on the Taylor, you get like some bonus stuff. So you get like some custom artwork for you, and you do like an episode in your hometown, things like that.
So yeah, you send us info and we'll make episodes around
yeah, so we ask you like it's like a sort of very basic questionnaire thing about stuff, about where you're from, whatever. And on this reply that Miss Banana or Mrs. Banana sent us, I'm never getting tired of calling it that. Mrs. Banana. She replied and she was like saying, and again, paraphrasing, she said she was a nurse, but she can also is like a fucking dead shot with a 9mm because she's from America. So I was like, fucking hell, that sounds like, I don't know, like some sort of 80s like TV show where it's like I'm a nurse by day, I'm a fucking hired gun by night. You know,
she'll shoot you and stitch you up.
Yeah, I could shoot you and fix you. That's the best thing about it.
Yeah. So yeah, Jana Banana.
Sounds like your lungs are going to come up.
Okay. So, Jana Banana, the gun-toting nurse who will slit you open just to stitch you back up again for her own amusement.
she loves nursing that much. She'll fucking blow a couple of holes in you, just then fix them.
It creates her own demand.
Yeah, she solved it.
No one in this town gets better. She'd walk around on her horse and gun home.
People in this town are too damn healthy. That's the problem.
Send in Jana.
Ain't no work for us nurses.
Yeah, so I imagine her like just people trying to run away from hospital, fit as a fiddle. Yeah. She gets out. She shoots like the stitches off their backs. So they just bring up. Yeah. Yeah. Oh well, Jana, we're kind of terrified of you.
Jana.
Yeah.
But we also are very thankful.
Yeah.
To cheers for being part. Yeah, it's quite a cool little character. Yeah. But yeah, no, thanks for being part of the Patreon, being part of the Tagley, Jana.
And we're definitely so that this podcast is a listener funded. What's the word to say? Listener supported podcast. So like we have lots of Patreon members who pay for us to keep the cost of the show, which costs a bit of money, cost of like paying the subscriptions, getting it uploaded, blah 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 blah. The podcast costs a little bit of money to make. The Patreon make that happen. So everyone who's on there, massive thank you. We're going to go back through giving out shout outs. We actually see he's got a list here. We've forgotten to do this for a few weeks
because we've been in a rush, like you said, and we're trying to squeeze them in. We keep trying to rush through the episode, and we keep forgetting the bloody the shout outs. But we're back onto a nice rhythm now. So
we've not missed any Patreon episodes. So if you join now, you get all the back catalogue of old episodes plus the new ones come in, and you'll be on the list then for your hometown episode artwork, blah 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 blah, all that malarkey.
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect.
But without much further ado, what's this whole bloody shenanigans you've roped us into this time? Or should I say, top rope, off the top roped us into.
Oh, I was just about to say, do a segue. Do one of your segues. You've done it. Amazing. I was actually very good because I didn't even see it coming. That was very good.
Yeah, neither did I, actually. But I noticed halfway through saying it, I hadn't linked a segue, but... Hey.
I feel like you've Irish whipped me into the top.
I feel like John Cena, like. You can't see me coming with this segue.
Oh, that's a good one. That's the wrestle fans will love that. So this one, yes, is about a guy, a Welsh wrestler called Adrian Street. Or the Exotic One, if you want to use his most famous wrestling persona. The Exotic One, aka Adrian Street, was a Welshman. His wrestling career spanned nearly 60 years.
And are we talking like Greco wrestling or like WWF wrestling?
Oh, like WWE wrestling, like showmanship wrestling, right? And I'll get into why he's kind of like a big deal in it now. So Adrian was born in Bryn Mawr in South Wales in 1940. He was originally headed towards being a coal miner, shock horror, following the footsteps of his father, who was a miner for over 50 years, as was Adrian's grandfather. But it turns out Adrian's father was a little bit of a shithouse, according to the man himself. In one of his later interviews, Adrian said, quote, "I didn't get the hero I thought I was going to get, the dad I expected to love me. Instead, I got a hateful bigot who never had a kind word to say about me in his life."
Been there, brother.
When he came home from World War II, after being a prisoner of the Japanese, he didn't like me, and I disliked him very much too. Even then, though, I tried making excuses for him, not that he ever deserved it, and would blame the way he was towards me on the ordeal he'd suffered as a Japanese POW. But he was always fine to my older brother and sister. So, it sounds like his dad had a bit of a rough time of it as well.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we were saying this before. It's not a surprise that so many older generation, like as in people who were in World War II, were fucked up because of how fucking terrifying and awful it was. So it's no wonder they came back pretty aggressive and mean. Not to excuse it,
not
but,
quite.
I mean, it's a mental
sensible.
Yeah. Also, he seems quite articulate.
I think he's just very he's like, I don't know, these sort of quotes I'm doing now, a lot of it's from his later years after this career's kind of over, and I think he's very good at being self-reflective.
Yeah,
and and he's had a very full life, so maybe he's that sort of him, can articulate these things a bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so that's what he's had to say about his dad. So he sounds like his dad had a rough time of it as well, but it does go to show any parents listening thinking about treating your kids like shit, don't, because they might become a pro wrestler one day. Apart from that's not just one reason, don't do it anyway, but just in case they do become a pro wrestler. Yeah. So anyway, this sour relationship with his dad, surprisingly, gave him a real want to leave home as soon as possible. So that as well. But he basically didn't want to be like, I'll just do what my father did and what his father did. It made him quite adverse to just following his footsteps. Yeah. So at 15, Adrian left school. He worked in the mines originally for 6 days a week, crawling through 10 inches of ice cold water in the dark. He also said his hands would be calloused and bloodied every single day from swinging a pickaxe. So with what little extra cash he managed to earn, he'd buy editions of Boxing and Wrestling magazine, and he'd occasionally travel to Cardiff for small-time wrestling gigs. Just to watch them, by the way, not participate.
And what age would that be? What year would this be again? Sorry?
15 he was at this point.
And what time history would that 15-year-old
So he was born in 1940, so it'd be
1955.
55.
Okay, cool. So yeah, cool, he was working wrestling like that happening in Cardiff.
Yeah, I think they were really small. I hadn't really taken off in this country yet. But the fact that he was, I just can't believe it, 15 years old, working fucking mines 6 days a week, crawling through ice, cold water and everything. Oh, sounds grim. But anyway, so yeah, you go to these, you watch this wrestling in Cardiff every now and then, and you buy these magazines, really fostered his love for the sport. So as a teen, he also turned into a bit of a gym monkey to blow off some steam because he had a bit of anger and whatever, considering his relationship with his father and whatnot. He started absolutely bulking, not sulking, and by 16, he left home before beginning his pro wrestling career in 1957 at the age of 17 in London. This is after he left the family home. Adrian's dad apparently said at the time, "You'll be back. He likes his mum's cooking too much." And I was like, that's such a fucking dad thing to say.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Adrian, he began his career on the amateur scene in London. He supplemented his income by modelling for bodybuilding magazines.
So he's a hunk. He's a real Welsh hunk.
He was a big, muscly boy.
Yeah.
And it was on August 8th, 1957, he got his first pro match under the persona Kid Tarzan Jonathan.
I mean, not the catchiest
It's worth saying
name.
as well. No, not at all. I'll explain what that's about in a minute, but it was also worth saying that he was quite short, typical Welshman. He was quite short, and a lot of people thought, you're too short to be a wrestler type thing.
I didn't know this was a thing, like Welsh people were really small.
Yeah, I think it's because me and you are fucking Goliath, aren't we? We're just fucking...
But I think there's genetically a lot of us were weird because of their families worked in mines. So I think
it is a thing. I think a stereotypical thing maybe, but I think genetically speaking, we're meant to be quite small, but also have long bods, which I fit into that category. I'm tall and have a really long bod. My bod's fucking twice the size of my legs.
Oh right, that's what you mean.
Yeah.
It's really confusing.
I meant torso, sorry, not like my
bod, your whole bod.
Yeah.
You got a long bod. I think I got long legs. I got long dancer's legs. Should have been on the ballet.
These legs were meant for the dance floor, not for the mines, darling.
Emma hates it because I'm weirdly very flexible. So when we're on the sofa, I'll like pirouette my leg up and like pull it up to be near my shoulder.
I remember that when we used to live together. You all sit in these weird, like you turn yourself into a pretzel on the fucking sofa, looking like a weirdo.
I do. I mean, I pretzel it up a bit. I'm very malleable. we are too happy to speak to each other tonight because we are yapping.
We could not be recording this now. If we turned at the end of this and went, we haven't recorded a thing, but it was a good time, wasn't it? It was a good time. Anyway, we were sorry. Go on.
I'm going to pour myself a drink, so you carry on yapping.
Oh yeah, go for it. So
I'm taking you with me. Sorry, shut up, me.
Yeah, sorry. So, as I said, he started his first match. He had his first match August 8th, 1957, as the persona Kid Tarzan Jonathan. And all my way through this research, I couldn't stop thinking, like, just stop at Kid Tarzan. Kid Tarzan sounds like it might be like a
actually
proper...
quite good as well.
Yeah, Kid Tarzan. I think you could make that work.
And he's strong like
exactly. That sounds like a perfectly fine wrestling name. But apparently... the Jonathan at the end is like an homage to one of his wrestling heroes, Don Lee Jonathan, who I've never heard of, but apparently he was big time. So he called himself Kid Tarzan Jonathan. In my opinion, absolutely ruining in that name. But Kid Tarzan Jonathan won his first match against Gentleman Jeff Moran on August 8th, 1957, as I said, in New Addington, just south of London. Apparently, Adrian was a big fan of wrestling, but didn't realise how carefully planned like the pro matches were.
Oh, yeah.
And when he was asked by Gentleman Jeff about how the match would play out, Adrian would say stuff like, "Don't worry about it, you'll find out." Yeah. So early in the match, Gentleman Jeff, he went to lock arms with Adrian, but Adrian grabbed his arm, spun it into a hold, and just dislocated his shoulder straight away. Because he was really rough with people. I don't think he realised that it's kind of fake. You know,
well, what they call it,
it's a ballet.
It's like it's a bit more. It's not just fake, is it? It's choreographed, isn't it? It's like
it's sports entertainment, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically what happened is that wasn't meant to happen. So he dislocated his shoulder, and then the officials were forced to play out the end of the match prematurely then, because obviously this Gentleman Jeff was like, his shoulder was fucked. After the fight, Adrian went to the I love just saying the names all the time as well.
Yeah.
After the fight, Adrian went to the promoter's office and he asked very confidently when his championship match would be before he got absolutely like reamed out in the office for injuring Gentleman Jeff. Gentleman Jeff's wife also stormed into the office and yelled obscenities at Adrian, to which he apparently replied, "If you was a man, I'd punch your head off. Go off and cry with your husband, you bloody big baby."
Punch your head off.
I love that. I'd punch your head off.
Punch your teeth off.
Punch it clean off, I would.
But no, it's off right now.
Like I said, I just don't think he realised that it was like, you're not meant to, you know, it's not like MMA or something like that.
Big, thick Adrian. Too strong for his boots.
Yeah. But after this, anyway, he was sent to a place called Johnny Kilroy's Gym, where a couple of guys
all
dubbed
these
him.
Names are amazing.
Yeah. Where a couple of guys called him Iron Jaw Murphy and Tony Scarlo. So Tony Scarlo and Iron Jaw Murphy, they were like real big time wrestling trainers in London at the time. They taught him how to do wrestling like properly, you know, not just fucking smashing people up. Yeah. They also beat him up quite a lot because like it was back in the day where if you were a bit too rough, they'd check your sort of behaviour by giving you a fucking smack, you know. So apparently old Adrian was he was hard to teach. He got a fucking battering over the years.
They do that in a few things, like in boxing. If you go to a boxing gym and you think you're too hard, they'll put you in your place really quickly. And if the same with like those things, it's to get the ego out of you and to like just to not be a cunt, because there's always someone harder than you.
And it's like for a safety thing as well. Like if you take something too far and you get a quick, sharp smack in the nose, you know, you're probably going to remember not to do something like that again. So they molded Adrian basically, and apparently in later interviews he said he was very upset that wrestlers didn't use full force in the ring, and he was dismayed that all his life until this point he'd assured anyone who'd listened that wrestling was real and that opponents in the ring were really going at each other. I can imagine that sort of that realization hit him when people, he'd been going back in his hometown. No, wrestling's bloody real. It's totally real.
We got
it's 100% real.
We got a really funny little mate called Jimmy from Treorchy. And he when he play fights too. Like at uni, I lived with him, and he was like, we'd throw little jabs at each other. He hit you really hard, and I'm like, and he was only small, so I just had to like, what the fuck? I like give him a much more bigger punch. Like, oh, don't, what are you doing then? And he
don't. Yeah.
I can imagine him thinking wrestling's real to this day now. And if we told him like, of course it's fucking real. How do you think you do that?
Despite access to the internet, I go, no, it's real. It's real. So, by 1962, Adrian was pretty much trained up, and he was regarded as a very solid wrestler. What he realised, though, was that British wrestling lacked the pageantry of their American counterparts. Well, so back then, it was just men in like pants,
Yeah.
And there wasn't what we see in wrestling now, which is like you have a persona, a character, and all that sort of thing.
So like wrestling we know now is like fun stage stuff, but the UK had a similar thing until just after World War II. So like in this era, the style and the presentation, they shifted from it being a pageantry thing to making it more like a legitimate sport. So there was the
old like Greco stuff, the old school,
wrestling. It was kind of like a mix between boxing and actual wrestling. So like, because I watched a documentary about how America took WWE to be what it is now. Like WWE after making it a pageantry thing. After the World War, like they thought it should be like just things were less serious. They wanted to make it serious, and it wasn't. So like it was even on telly for a little bit. It was like it was on ITV and things like that. But they wanted to make it a proper.
Have like sort of a respected sport type thing, like Olympic,
yeah.
But he noticed this. Adrian had noticed the difference across the pond, and so he decided to set himself apart from the crowd here in Britain. He dyed his hair blonde, and he started wearing very bright colours and like a big robe, sort of like Ric Flair. According to interviews, he was surprised with the crowd's reaction to him. He thought they'd look at him and see like a tough man dressed for the sport, but to his surprise, the crowd would wave, catcall, blow kisses at him. And he said he specifically remembers someone yelling, "Hey, woolly woofter," at him.
I feel like Adrian could be one of our mates.
I know,
He still doesn't quite get why they're laughing at him dressing like in skimpy clothes.
Also,
I'm hard.
And this isn't me condoning homophobia, but woofter has got to be one of the funniest old school insults to a gay person. Woofter, for God's sake. What is it even? What? I don't even know where the genesis of it could have come from.
No, it just and also to prefix it, you've got a gay brother and sister. I think
that's right. So I cannot be accused of homophobia. No. It's a get out of jail free card.
But I was going to say, I bet you if you said to your brother, "What do you think of the word woofter?" I think he'd probably say, "Oh, that's quite." He would love
it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he'd say it's quite a funny word.
Yeah.
And probably he's a little bit younger than us. He probably hasn't even fucking heard that used legitimately. Well, it's fallen out of.
It'd be insane.
It's fallen out of use, isn't it? Yeah.
So someone was like, some bigot in the street was like, being homophobic and giving him a slur, and they went for woolly woofter. I think. Everyone. It's probably it'd be more embarrassing to use that than to have to be called gay by some bigot. It's like madness. Funny though.
I'm not gutted it's out of use, by the way. I just think that's a fact. It's probably no one says that anymore. Anyway, so although this wasn't what Adrian was going for, he realised he was getting like a huge reaction from the crowd, and way bigger sort of response than his fellow wrestlers. So he really began to sort of play into it. So he started during matches slapping his opponent's asses when they weren't looking. He'd give them a kiss on the cheek or the lips when they were locking and stuff like that. And they'd all go recoil and stuff. You get really into it.
Oh, so funny.
This change in tact also came with more and more flamboyant and elaborate costumes, incorporating mascara, eyeshadow, makeup.
I do think proper hard Welsh blokes can be quite camp and like be very comfortable with them. So like my cousin-in-law is a unit. He's a proper. His job is like climbing BT pylons, and he does like the electrical stuff at the top of them. So he's like climbing pylons, and he's such a unit. But he always calls men love. Or he was like he always says, "Oh, cheers, love," and he'll always say "love" to guys, and like he's like very traditionally blokey guy, and he's got no like I don't know. I just think that's quite a nice trait Welsh people can have. It's like,
well, it's like this Adrian obviously didn't give a shit about like.
Because he's tough.
I say progress. I won't say progressive because I'll do a quote from him later, and you'll see he's got a bit of a product of his time as well. But he obviously didn't give a shit about like I don't think he cares about gay people or anything like that, did he? He was like, if that sells tickets, it sells tickets. Yeah. Like, who gives a shit? So yeah, he was like putting more makeup on
and not being worried about what people say about you. I think if you're a bit like tough,
because he was probably just like, look, I know what I am, so he doesn't care. It doesn't matter. But so he was doing more like flamboyant dress up and he was incorporating makeup and things. He was drawing heavily from the glam rock scene.
Oh yeah,
and he got a new name as well at the time, the Exotic one, or Exotic Adrian Street. This is when he started going by his moniker, his most well known moniker, the Exotic one. Adrian was quoted as saying, and this is what I was on about, shock horror, there's some like old school homophobia in this. He said, I was getting far more reaction than I'd ever got just playing this puff. My costume started getting wilder.
Oh dear.
So yeah. So he's, I don't think he was as progressive maybe as we thought, but product of his time perhaps.
Yeah.
But it was around this
really
time.
He's really soured the mood now.
Yeah, I know. I think what it is though, he's like, I don't think he would have said that with. I don't know.
I know. It's
hard though, isn't it?
Well, I agree because they do this in things like Only Fools and Horses, which I fucking love. Like I adore, and I also David Jason's like an incredibly nice person. His wife was Welsh, and she was really unwell, and he cared for her. Like he was incredibly good. Like he's a good man, I think. Like if you rewatch those shows, he'll drop like the P. Like he says things like he says offensive things there because of the product of his time, even though they're not the butt of the joke. He's like.
And even the character at the time wouldn't be saying it.
No, exactly. It's not him having to go
on.
100%. So I think that's way more.
I think that's what it was. If you replaced, if you just said I was acting like this gay guy in that quote, it wouldn't make a difference. And I don't think.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he would say that.
Two
I don't know.
straight white males trying to
listen.
Defend.
I think it's completely fine. Right? Yeah.
We're trying to defend other men from the past because we quite like them. Maybe we're not the best. But I agree with you, man. He sounds like
a legend. I don't want him to not be one for me.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they often say you can't judge the past by morals of today. Like this, it's just not fair to do that. So
yeah.
So actually,
that's probably just what. That's just probably what everyone at that time called gay people. Unfortunately, I'm not saying that's all right, but I don't think it's done with malice. I don't know. Maybe he is a massive homophobe. I highly doubt it, because especially when you listen to the rest of this episode. But I don't know. I'm giving him a free pass as someone who's got a gay brother. Right, so there we go. That's it. It's fine.
You're get out of jail. Yeah.
That's it. I've used it now. I get to extend it to one person in my life. I'm giving it to Adrian Street. All right. Anyway, so it's around this time in 1969 he met Linda Gunthorpe Hawker, who was also on the wrestling circuit in Britain under the alias Blackfoot Sue. Oh. She became Adrian's valet on tour before becoming a close friend and eventually his wife. So just like driving him around, basically.
Oh, right.
Valet, then became a close friend and then eventually became his wife.
What was
Blackfoot
her name?
Sue.
Blackfoot Sue. I want to
Linda Gunthorpe Hawker is her full name if you want to look that up.
There's a pop band called Blackfoot Sue as well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
In the 70s. Let's have a look.
Well, this was 1969, so could be.
I can't really see much. She looks a bit like China, the wrestler, does she?
I only saw the one picture of her.
Well, one of them, she's dressed like a Native American, so I think we're falling into dodgy territory.
Oh, God. I've used up my card. I don't have anything else to use.
Aren't you 1/16th Cherokee?
People, so. Yeah.
All right, I don't know if we got... All right, let's move on. Miss Linda, is
Anyway.
that her name?
Yeah, Miss Linda, I think she changed her name for later then. So a pivotal moment around this time for Adrian was when he started wearing lipstick as part of his character. This is by his own admission. He said in an interview, "It was actually quite a long time before I wore lipstick. Even though I wore rhinestones and all kinds of goop on my eyes, I tell the boys, I'm not..." Yeah, he said, I tell the boys, I'm not wearing bloody lipstick. That's bloody girl stuff.
He looks just like Rocket Man. You know the cover of on Elton John.
I think he used later in in his thing. He was drawing inspiration for anyone who was a bit like flamboyant like that.
He looks so much like Elton John in one of those. Where he looks, he's got like this two different coloured trousers. Like each leg is a different colour. He's got loads of feather boa thing around him, loads of eyeshadow on, crazy yellow hair, blonde hair, like a massive.
We might put some pics of him up on Patreon or something. There's a great picture of him where he went back right after he'd had this big career, and he went back and he's dressed in all his gear, like his flamboyant gear, and he's being photographed next to his dad, who's still a miner, and he looks chuffed, and his miner dad looks a bit like he's like smiling, but you can tell he's been like, I don't understand what's going on here.
He's also he is one of the biggest UK wrestlers, wasn't he? He was like huge, like one of the most
big
important.
Time, mate. Big time. I'll get on to more of his lasting legacy later, but so this was a big deal in 1969. That's when he started wearing lipstick, and he himself said this in one of his books, that it was like a real big deal for him, even though everyone else was like, well, what's lipstick after everything else you've done? But he said he needed to be done for his career, so he said despite the reservations, he donned the lipstick to further enhance Exotic Adrian Street persona. I also read that you'll love this, his go-to moves, like his signature moves, included kissing his opponents when he was about to be pinned, so they'd recoil and get up off him so he could get back on his feet. And also, he used to get his opponents into a lock where he'd have one hand free, and then with the free hand, he'd start applying makeup to them on their face. And he used to sing several glam rock songs as part of his act, including a song called Sweet Transvestite with a Broken Nose and another song called Imagine What I Could Do to You. So he very much leaned into this.
He's got one of those fat guy / steroid guy 6-packs. You know, they're huge. They've got massive arms.
A bit poppy out, aren't they?
Yeah, they poppy outy. They're like, do you know Perez Hilton, that guy?
Yeah. Except Adrian's was probably real.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It looks like if you punched it, you'd break your hand on it. Like it looks so solid. But But it's like it's as if they've got so much muscle. It pops out instead of being like a shredded look.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just. He's a fascinating man to look at, isn't he?
Oh yeah, no. This is why when I first found out about him, I went down a rabbit hole, which is why I've done all this about him.
I said Paris Hilton. I meant Darren Lyons, that guy who's on Big Brother.
Lyons. Oh yeah, I knew who you meant. Sorry, Perez Hilton. I was thinking, is it Perez Hilton? But I was like, I don't know. Maybe
they both do the same thing. He was like a mean paparazzi person.
That's right. Yeah, that's why I'm getting confused.
If you Google Darren Lyons, you'll see exactly what I mean.
That's right, because on Big Brother, he has like a sheet under his skin, doesn't it, that makes him look like he's got a six-pack, because he's a big fat guy. Yeah. It's just like a fat belly with like a six-pack on it.
This is insane. Sorry, go on.
Anyway, so Adrian, he continued his career wrestling all the way around the world, including Germany, Canada, Mexico. He even formed a tag team in the UK with a fellow wrestler called Bobby Barnes to form Hell's Angels, which is just, I love the names in these.
It's like the 80s now, and it's 70s, 80s we're into.
No, this is still 70s now, still 70s.
70s, okay.
And this next bit is very interesting.
And 70s is kind of like, as for background, 70s is like the height of... where wrestling becomes really fun and wacky, and you get like giant hate stacks. You get people like that, don't you? This is like the era of
it's really starting to take off now. It's like a bit of a booming sport. So this is this next bit now is actually the reason I wanted to do this thing, because this is I saw a post somewhere about this particular incident, and then I read about him more, got sort of did the deep dive. So in 1971, Adrian had just beaten the world lightweight champion George Kidd, and he was asked to do a promotional match against none other than Jimmy Savile.
Oh,
now,
really?
Now, anyone from the UK will obviously know who that is, but for those who maybe live beyond a stretch of water and might not know, Jimmy Savile was a presenter and DJ in the 70s who turned out to be a fucking massive paedophile.
In like the
King
70s.
Of the pedos.
Well, he was the start of like Operation U-Tree. So in the 70s, there was a few like TV celebrities who were the biggest. Like they were the most like, because there was only like 3 channels, especially the BBC. If you were a show on there, you were massive, and he had a huge show on there aimed at young people, and he was like a prolific sex offender.
Huge nonce. I not to depress the pod, but he apparently sexually abused an estimated 450 people, 328 of which were children.
And he had like carte blanche, and people knew this for a while apparently about him. But there's a few around there, but he died before people found this out. And then from there, they had to do this thing about Operation like U-Tree, where they found out loads of other people had done similar things. I won't explain this because we have quite a lot of American listeners who might not understand the severity of him wrestling this.
But
guy.
he's a fucking terrible human being and a like. I don't know. I say king of the pedos quite flippantly. I know to try and make use humor to mask the severity of it all. But he is kind of that. I doubt
Jack actually had a poster of him on his wall post the allegations, which makes it really bad.
Yeah, I put it up after.
Yeah.
So oh Jesus! Oh, maybe cut that. I don't know.
No, it's fine. Also, I always find those. I find Savile jokes quite cheap and easy, so I don't think we should. It's actually low in our standard, so I don't think we should.
Low, we're so highbrow usually as well.
Yeah,
but anyway, just to illustrate, he was a fucking terrible person and a big old nonce. So it's worth noting as well that at the time of this exhibition match they had, this wasn't known in the public circles. Turns out after Operation U-Tree and stuff, people did know about it, especially on the BBC and whatever, and we're just letting him fucking run riot. But the match anyway, that was set up, and the outcome was meant to be a draw because it was meant to maybe a fun little charity match type thing. Adrian didn't want to do the match at first because he thought it cheapened the sport, but because it was a charity gig, he reluctantly agreed. Before the match, Savile repeatedly bashed the sport of wrestling, saying it was all show and anyone could do it, etc., which also rubbed Adrian up the wrong way. Also, I don't know if this is 100% true, but from some sources I read, I will do my notes, some said that Adrian had overheard Savile bragging to a colleague about sleeping with someone underage before the match. So he wasn't happy with that either. Yeah. So weirdly, during the match...
in like the 70s, 80s, that kind of stuff people would talk about. Like, now, like that's such a thing. We have such a clear morality, and people would like beat the shit out of someone if they said, "Oh, I did this." In like the 70s and 80s, people were just bragging about that. And also, Adrian's not the first person who's been rubbed up the wrong way by Jimmy Savile.
Oh,
it was just. I bet he's
literally after just saying Savile jokes are cheap.
It was so obvious, and I know someone at home was probably thinking, "Oh, why haven't they said that?" But it's just because there is a thing
up
in
to
there.
The crowd.
There is definitely like. People have said that for ages. Like now, people would go mental if that happened. But I once heard it. That was. Oh no, I won't even say that. I'll leave that.
Cut that one out. Yeah. Well, you'll like Adrian even more now, right? So during the match, Savile began taunting the Exotic One, which the crowd apparently loved. But Adrian apparently went totally off script, and he just started beating the shit out of Savile for real, like kicking and punching his head in. He said he was holding him in a headlock, and he was ripping clumps of his hair out, and his scalp was bleeding all over the ring. Like literally just started kicking the shit out of him.
Savile basher.
So Adrian said about the match years later, after the truth about Savile came out and everything, this is decades past. He said, Had I known then what I known about him now, I'd have given him an even bigger hiding.
Go on, Adrian.
But they had to call the match, I think. Anyway, that's what I could find. Several sources I looked at, they didn't tell you how the match ended, but a couple I read said that they basically declared Adrian the winner because Savile was like begging the organisers to end it because he was getting the fuck kicked out of him. So I thought that was very funny. Just the idea of like his hair being ripped out of his scalp.
And people who don't know what he looks like he's got wispy, long, dirty hair. And he's
got like long white
skull.
hair. And he was so skinny and everything as well. Like, and this Adrian guy was
he
obviously
looks like Mr. Monty
a meathead.
Burns. If Monty Burns was like a 70s gym teacher. So he's like...
Exactly. So that was good. I like that's what I first read about Adrian and Adrian Street, and I thought, I'll do a whole thing on him. And turns out he's got a good life, like an interesting life anyway. But I just thought
that was
so
the
funny.
only thing he'd done, and then we made a whole episode about that.
yeah. But I thought that was a great little bit. Just imagine like Savile getting in that ring, going, just throw me about a bit for this charity match, and then it's some guy who's actually built like a brick shithouse just starts beating you up.
We've been going for like an hour.
I know. I'll try and get through the last round. I think I'm pretty close to the end.
It's me. He's yapping on next to you. Sorry.
Oh, mate, it's a good one though. We love a longie.
Yeah, we
love
do.
a little chat.
Yeah.
So over the next 10 years, then Adrian would lose a bit of love for the sport. He claimed that the industry in the UK had become full of posers, not wrestlers. And this is when he decided to move to America. He said once, recounting a story, and I'm going to try and do the accent again if I can, rightly or wrongly. A promoter called Max Crabtree brought this big, horrible, fat, flabby brother, Shirley Crabtree, a.k.a. Big Daddy, out of retirement. Ugh. Push him on his backside and he'd rock himself to sleep trying to get back up. Suddenly I was surrounded by bad actors and not athletes. It wasn't like that in America, though. I started to rediscover what had made me proud about wrestling in the first place.
Oh, I like that. And I'm going to start saying that to people. I'm going to push you on your side. You'll rock yourself to sleep getting back
Rock yourself out like a baby. Yeah.
Big
I love
fat
that.
baby.
Shirley Crabtree, a.k.a. Big Daddy. I love that. So, despite the naysayers saying he was past it, Adrian, being about 40 years old at this point, him and his wife decided to take the show to America. He toured in California, but he mainly went around Tennessee, Florida, Texas, Louisiana, and Alabama, where the crowds like fucking hated him because of how gay his stage persona was and stuff. So, as we, as some people might know, the South's historically, shall we say, slow adoption of certain demographics. That led to mean that the crowd would go fucking nuts when he went on, like in a bad way, but he didn't give a shit whether it was positive or negative.
You'd call him the heel, wouldn't you? Like, as in you kind of play the baddie, but in
that's right, yeah. So the heel, you play the arsehole, if you like, but because he was this big gay flamboyant guy as well, so he's expecting booze as it is.
It's like the baddie, isn't it? So like the pantomime villain,
the pantomime villain, and you're expecting booze as that role anyway, but I think he very much leaned into, right, I'm going to get a real reaction here, like in the States. So, he did a lot of tours around the sort of American South. At one point, he even fought Randy Macho Man Savage, who, if you don't know, you're listening, is like one of the greats from back in the day. He's the guy who would go like, oh yeah, he's the cream of the crop. Like he's watched some fucking clips of him if you haven't seen him before. He's a nutcase.
Massively memeified recently, and he's all over Instagram for being like clearly on cocaine, a lot of it. But he also did a lot of British TV in like the 80s. So he'd come over here and he was like a big person, like an advocate for selling wrestling to a UK audience because he was so wild and over the top.
He was just so like you captivate him, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he's really fun.
Yeah. But Adrian said of him once, and this is a quote: "He's a pure athlete, but he's not a wrestler," which is a slam.
Oh, but he is a wrestler.
But yeah, very much is literally a professional wrestler. Yeah. But anyway, Adrian was asked repeatedly about his sexual orientation, as you would imagine, because of the nature of his character, the exotic one. And I guess even if it's wrestling, someone's probably going to ask, "Are you gay?" Especially in that time period, if you're like literally kissing boys on stage and stuff. On the matter, he said, and I won't do the accent for this, because it ought to do it a disservice. So
and
he
also
said,
sometimes
quote,
a Welsh accent does sound a little bit like being homophobic, because if you do like really camp Welsh accent.
yeah, and I think considering the context, I won't be able to help but lean into that a little bit. So I'm going to do it just straight if I can. So he said about his sexual orientation.
Poor choice of words.
Oh God, you're right. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Can't say anything, you see. Yeah. So he said on the matter, mystery and contrast have always been important to me. That's why I would never say I'm absolutely not gay or say I was either. The thing is, while people are arguing about it, you're still getting attention. If you turn around and claim to be one thing or another, you've put yourself in a box, end of story. And I never want to be in a box. That's not me.
I love him. So he's a bit of a ledge, man, isn't he?
So he hasn't actually claimed whether he's gay or not or anything like that. He's just leaving it up.
By not answering
to the punters,
it kind of shows like, well, why does it matter?
Exactly. That's what I think. So, like, even though he used puff earlier when he was like in the 70s, I like that. I don't think he doesn't come across as a guy who has a prejudice. Like that, I think
he's like, well, why does it matter? If you're doing that stuff, like Louis Theroux says that sometimes. Like when they ask him in that episode where they go, "Are you Jewish? Are you Jewish?" He's like, well, if I answer, I feel I there's weight behind saying if I am or not. Like when the KKK, he's talking about these far right racists, and they corner him and they say like, "Are you a Jew? Are you a Jew?" And he's actually not Jewish. Yeah. But he says, well, if I answer, I'm giving you, I'm admitting that it matters if you are or you're not. Where I don't think it does matter if you are or you're not. So I'm not going to say if I am or I'm not, because answering it would say yes is important. So I'm not going to say it would, which is so brave. Like imagine some Nazi in your face, and you're actually not Jewish, and you're saying it. And maybe I'm giving too much leeway to Adrian, but I think not if you don't answer those things.
That's what I got from it anyway. If someone's got some irrefutable proof that he was an arsehole,
we will defend Welsh people to the hilt, won't we?
Yeah, they get such biased treatment.
Right,
but anyway, like I said, whether it was a character or not, I do like that he seems progressive. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, but Adrian eventually hung up his fabulous outfit in 2010 when he retired from the sport. But not before
2010.
Winning. Yeah, but not before he won. He won the NWA Wrestling Birmingham in Alabama title at 70 years old.
Shit, I used to watch NWA.
So he was still doing stuff back
right
at 70. Yeah, that's
shit,
right.
Man, it was like the people who don't know wrestling is WWF was always the biggest one.
It was the huge one, yeah.
But there was one called what was it called? NWA.
NWA.
Yeah, and that was like the rival. I think it ended up being bought by them or something. But it was always like the one that was like the only one that could rival WWF.
Even though they were relatively small time when they compared. But so he won that title at age 70, which is mad. He estimates that over his career, he's had between 12 and 15,000 matches.
Fucking hell.
And he stayed active on the wrestling circuit as a promoter until 2014. Once retired, he set up a wrestling school in Florida called Skull Crushers with a K.
Yes.
But he was unfortunately forced to shut up shop.
I thought you meant skull with a K. So yeah, K is in the word
skull. No, Crushers. Crushers with a K, yeah. Skull with a K, duh.
Is he the guy behind Crush'ems, the milkshake? I can crush him.
Spoiler. Spoiler.
Tough enough to make milkshake. Do you remember that advert?
Yeah, no, you crush them. That would, if only you had, that would have been the pièce de résistance.
Can we add
at the end of this
song into this?
Of course. Why the heck? I mean, it's our pod. We can do what we want.
Can we? Oh, thanks, my lord.
Yeah.
I want some crusher, a little crusher. Milk keeps me fit and tastes so great. I want some crusher, a glass of crusher. It's tough enough to make milkshake.
But unfortunately, he was forced to shut down Skull Crushers when Hurricane Ivan damaged the property beyond repair. They also set up a business selling wrestling gear online, and they even created the ring gear worn by Mick Foley when he was a wrestler for WWE. Or maybe it was WWF at the time. I can't remember. Either or. WWF, WWE. Adrian survived a brush with throat cancer, and him and his wife moved back to Wales in 2018, where they both lived happily into retirement until Adrian unfortunately had a stroke in 2023. and was sent to hospital in Cwmbran to sort out a bleed on his brain. Sadly, this absolute legend of a guy, he died after getting sepsis post-surgery.
Yeah.
His wife Linda said on social media, "Death is never nice, and you'd never say there was a nice way to die, but it was as good as it could have been."
Oh, go on, Lisa.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Fair play to her. So that's the story of Adrian Street, a.k.a. the Exotic one. The last thing I'll leave you... Oh, go on.
Sorry, no. I won't chime in. You go first.
I was going to say, the last thing I'll leave you with on the story of this guy is the catchphrase that he would say at matches, apparently. And it was, "You may be pretty, but I'm beautiful."
Oh, yes, Adrian. I got a lot of time for that. Well, that is good. When I was in hospital, that's the thing they were really worried about for me was sepsis. So had I gone out with sepsis, I'd been in good company with Adrian.
I was going to say, you've gone out the way of the hero with Adrian Street, mate.
Well, I think Adrian Street might be my new favourite person. He is definitely up there.
He just sounds like a mad life, doesn't it? Like an absolutely eccentric life.
Yeah. Well, we've gone on long enough, so Jeff and Grandad, thank you for listening, guys. If you got this far, if every single one of you listen at this point now dropped us a 5-star review, that'd be fucking amazing. We would shoot up the ratings. And all that's what you have to do is just drop a little 5-star, even if you're not on Patreon and all that stuff. But if you got this far, we know how many listeners we have. If you got to the very end of here, you're a die-hard listener. So go drop us a quick... All you have to do is 5-star, bang that out, and that would help us massively.
Yeah, it's great for a little, the algo, isn't it? To get us shot up in the fucking charts and stuff.
The mighty algorithm, the old algorithm that we must
Mystic
bow down
rhythm,
to.
yeah.
Yeah, that's mystic rhythm to you. They call me algorithm. God, we're drunk. Right.
Oh, on that note,
They all give us 1 stars after that. All right, Justin Grandad, thank you. Ta-da.
Cheers now.
I can tear a telephone directory in two. Bending iron bars is something else that I can do. I always pick my teeth with the nearest billiard cue. So imagine what I could do to you. To see my many attributes won't need a second glance. You know if you resisted, you just wouldn't stand a chance. I can knock a hole right through a solid concrete wall. I can pull a tree out by its roots and that's not all. Now you know about me, you don't need a crystal ball to tell you just what I could do to you. I thought of something already. To see my many attributes won't need a second glance. And you know if you resisted, you just wouldn't stand a chance. I can crush a house brick with one movement of my hand, and laugh while I reduce it to a dusty heap of sand. I got a splendid figure when I make my chest expand. So imagine what I could do to you. Nice.